Hello, 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 insiders. It is Nicole Robinson, aka NRTheInsider here, back with another episode of The Moment. I am a political law attorney and I believe information is power, and I'm here to bring power to the people. We have a lot to talk about this week. There has been so much going on. The Supreme Court basically greenlit mass deportation. Texas said that their schools have to teach the Bible, and protesters got 100-year sentences in Texas for protesting. But in the middle of all that, voters across America showed the Democratic establishment that they want change, and they want it now. We also have to talk about media mogul Byron Allen, who made some great acquisitions, but at what cost? Let's get into it. Byron Allen, y'all. We're gonna start with Byron Allen. Byron Allen is now the CEO and chairman of BuzzFeed and the Huffington Post. Incredible. Come on, Black excellence. BuzzFeed reaches nearly 80 million viewers in the United States alone. If you remember BuzzFeed, it is where you can find news, quizzes, funny stories, all the things that go viral online. They be on BuzzFeed. Huffington Post is a progressive news outlet, and they reach about 100 million viewers worldwide. So, we got a Black man at the top, we all excited. He is also taking over Stephen Colbert's late night slot. Now, if you remember from my previous video, or if you've been watching the news, President Trump basically got Stephen Colbert fired. And now Byron Allen is taking over that spot. But we're not so excited because Byron Allen said that there will be no talks of politics, only comedy. Now, Stephen Colbert's show was responsible in part for holding administrations accountable for 11 years. He did not shy away from talking about politics, but he also made it easy for people to understand and added comedic relief. And this is what we need, especially at a time like this, where President Trump is kicking journalism in the head left and right. He doesn't want anybody to speak out against him or to speak about his administration, period. So now Byron Allen coming in and taking over such a critical position and saying we're not even going to talk about politics. It's super exciting that he has the microphone and he has so much power, but what really matters is what you do with that power. Now, speaking of somebody with too much power and too much platform, we got to talk about Megyn Kelly and the Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court just ruled that President Trump has virtually unreviewable authority to end the temporary protected status of thousands of people. 350,000 Haitians and about 4,000 Syrians who are living here legally, have been here for decades, will have to go. Their protective status will end on July 1st, just a few days away. And here's what Megyn Kelly had to say about this.
Go home. Get out. We know our country's better than yours. That's because we filled it with our work ethic and our culture and our values. You being here only dilutes it for us, those who built it and live it. And half of you people, more than half of you, won't assimilate. We don't want you. We don't care if you're offended. Get out. Go home. Go back to fuck.
That was Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly is not some fringe MAGA person. She had a Fox News primetime slot. She also has a massive platform on SiriusXM. She felt comfortable to say all of that because of the rhetoric that we hear from the White House and because of what the Supreme Court said in its decision. So let's talk about that. So as a little background, President Trump previously said that Haiti was disgusting and dirty, and he used some cuss words that I'm not going to use on my channel. He said some really terrible things about Haiti. Now, fast forward to the Supreme Court case, Trump's federal government argued that the statements that he made about Haiti were not racially motivated. Now, keep in mind, he also said that he wishes that we could have people from Norway and Sweden. So you want the people from Norway and Sweden white, but not the people from Haiti? Okay. And the Supreme Court said that wasn't racist. And then you get Megyn Kelly out here firing off at the mouth like her and her Klan members love to do because she was emboldened by the Supreme Court. Now let's go a little bit deeper and let's talk about the history of the United States and Haiti, because Haitians didn't just have to flee Haiti just willy-nilly. The United States had a direct hand in the basic destruction of the island. And now, after we offer them protection, we say, no, you gotta go back. And people in Syria were fleeing war. Now they gotta go back. This was not about the rule of law, y'all. This is about racism and who gets to be protected and who is considered a human and who's not. Now, mind you, Megyn Kelly and President Trump talked about Haitian people eating animals, and we have debunked that so many times, but she said it again. She don't care about facts. All she cares about is being racist and trying to make this country look as white as possible. Even though we know this country was founded by immigrants on the backs of people of color. But I'ma chill. This next story is a little bit more hopeful. Thank goodness. What we have been seeing in New York and all across the country is that the people are ready for a fight, okay? Washington, D.C. just elected Janice Lewis George as mayor after years of Mayor Bowser's reign. People in D.C. loved Mayor Bowser, but also we were ready for something new. She definitely was a little problematic, especially towards the end because she was capitulating to President Trump. And you know, we gotta fight for our autonomy and our power whenever we can, especially because DC is not a state yet. So it was time to move on. Janice Lewis George is a self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist, and she ran on a People First platform. That's what I got here in my notes, People First platform. She talked about housing affordability, universal child care, ending ICE cooperation. And DC is not unique because we also can go to the West Coast and look at LA. Now, the DCA, the Democratic Socialists of America, hold nearly a third of LA's city council seats. LA, one of the biggest cities in the world, and certainly in the United States, so what does that say about what the people want? Seattle has been electing DSAs for years, and New York just got some dubs. Okay, shout out to Mamdani, shout out to New York. Y'all, after I see all the joy in New York, I be feel like I'm from New York. What's that song? I'm from New York. I be like, yes, maybe I am, but nah, I'm from Arizona, child. But anyway, all of America has been watching New York in excitement. You got the Knicks, you got Mamdani, and now you got 3 Democratic Socialists who are about to change the game. One of the Democrats that lost against one of the Democratic Socialists was backed by Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democratic Party. Hakeem was not very happy about this, okay? Basically what's happening now is the Democratic establishment is trying to call these wins just an anomaly. Hakeem Jeffries definitely said it's just a handful of primaries. And then Senator Fetterman, Senator Fetterman went on CNN and called these candidates the dirtbag left. These are people who are trying to fight against tyranny, fight against white supremacy, fight against capitalism, fight against President Trump, trying to support you and your people, and you're gonna call them the dirtbag left? We don't have time for this infighting right now because we have a bigger giant to slay, okay? This is the issue with Democrats. The Democratic Party has spent years moving to the right. After Reagan and Bush, you know, we all know about Ronald Reagan and his trickle-down economics, welfare, Queen South. And Bush, also conservative. Who do we get after that? Bill Clinton. Tough on crime. That's what we got after. Instead of trying to drag the country to the left, because clearly they were tired of Republicans, we went on to the right. We cannot let that same thing happen again, okay? Because President Trump has has dragged this country to the right times 10. The answer to that cannot be, okay, we'll come along with you because eventually we are gonna be over here. Language that Megyn Kelly used is gonna be normalized. Slashing the federal government, normalized. Xenophobia, normalized. We gotta start pushing this way. And so that's why we should be excited for Democratic Socialists to hold the party to the fire or whatever. Is that what y'all say? Hold them to the feet, hold their feet to the fire, one of them. We should be excited about this because we want to fight back. And the funny thing is, people say they don't like socialism, but y'all do. Y'all lie to yourselves. Do you like firefighters? Some of y'all love the police. Don't you want to have some roads out here, public schools, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security? Socialism. You're just afraid to call it that. But that's okay. If Democrats want to win in November, they're going to have to start paying attention to the people that are further on the left because they are an important group of the party. And clearly, what we're doing is not working. And while voters in LA and New York and Seattle are demanding more, y'all, it's going down in Texas. It is going down. The Texas legislature just voted to require Bible passages at every grade level. Only the Bible. No other religious texts. Don't matter if students in the class aren't Christians. Don't matter if the teacher ain't Christian. It's the Bible. They also eliminated the World Cultures course, cut teachings on racial and cultural diversity, And this is a tough one right here. They removed the sociology standard requiring students to understand the impact of race and ethnicity on society. So basically what's going to happen is these students in Texas, they're going to have no sense of the world, okay? It's almost like the Texas legislature thinks that Texans, white, Anglo-Saxon, Christian Texans are the only people that exist, and everybody else doesn't matter. In that same week, the Trump administration called for the government to do away with the idea of the separation of church and state. Mind you, this country was founded on the idea of church over here, state over here, because they were fleeing religious prosecution over there in Europe. That's the whole point. But now we're going back to the tyrannical days where the king could decide what religion everybody had to be. And this is the party that says they love the founding fathers. What do you have to say about that? Texas has been throwing away books related to race and history. Teachers are already saying that they don't know how to teach about slavery and the Holocaust and other important world events. Y'all, pray for the children in Texas, please, because they need it. Now, while all this is going on, Texas just handed 8 protesters a combined 450 years in federal prison for protests that occurred outside of an ICE detention facility. One man that wasn't even at the protest got 30 years for moving literature that was related to the protest. Prosecutors were able to get such long sentences because Trump previously declared Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. Antifa is not a domestic terrorist organization, okay? Antifa is a decentralized movement against fascism, okay? It's not even an umbrella organization. And these protesters all said that they were not a part of Antifa, yet they were tried as terrorists. You know who didn't get sentences that were 100 years and 30 years and 70 years? January 6th. Traitors of the United States, okay? And while all this is happening in Texas, the federal government is just throwing us another blow. Now we gotta talk about FEMA. FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security will no longer require state and local governments to avoid unintentional discrimination when they're dispersing federal aid after a hurricane, a tornado, whatever, after a natural disaster. They don't have to think about unintentional discrimination. Now, they cannot intend to discriminate when they're giving the funds out, but if it's an accident, oh, too bad, so sad. They didn't mean to. We already have decades of evidence showing that the way that FEMA distributes aid was already disadvantaging Black and brown communities, okay? They were looking at property values, home ownership rates, and other things like that. And they even said themselves that a lot of the money that should have went to a diverser group of people was going to whiter, wealthier communities. Think about Hurricane Katrina, Harvey, Maria. Black and brown people were left for dead. Communities in the Gulf South, the Carolinas, and Florida already sitting in the path of danger when it comes to natural disasters. And now the communities of color in those areas might get less federal aid. And to close this out, we got another sad story, potentially sad story. This one does not involve the federal government for once. Well, kinda. Let's get into Fisk. Fisk University, an HBCU founded in 1866 to educate newly freed slaves, just announced a 100,000 square foot data center to be built on the campus. 70,000 of those square feet will go to a private partner company, which Fisk has not announced yet. Now, community members and activists and students say that they were not even consulted before this decision. Fisk leadership says they did consult people and that they have an open door policy, but who knows? The people in Tennessee have already been fighting against data centers. In fact, they protested against a data center that was going to be open near a zoo. So what she's saying is data centers are not safe for animals, but they're safe for the Black students at an HBCU. By 2028, data centers are expected to consume as much water as 5.5 million people. So they're already causing environmental disasters. They also cause local environmental damage to water and air and noise pollution, but it's cool for the HBCU campus. We all want Fisk to thrive. I am a fellow HBCU graduate, so I understand how decades of underfunding from the federal government can result in an HBCU needing to do what it can to get more money. But I don't believe that these precious Black students should face this environmental burden of having this data center right on their campus. And on top of that, at least ask the students if they even want it. Fisk says that there will be no environmental impact, but that's honestly hard to believe. We'll see how this plays out. Well, y'all, thanks for watching another episode of The Moment with NRTheInsider, Nicole Robinson. Tune in next week. Bye.